Uzodimma, the Executive Governor of Imo State, for your cooperation to look at the plight of teachers of Imo State.
We're giving it to you here in our own soil to tell you that it's not fake. We are not persuaded. There is nothing that is maybe arguable. We have done it from our heart to honor you with this beautiful edict. Your Excellency,
for the first time in the history of the state, civil servants now enjoy 13th month salaries, free bus to work and back home, free health insurance scheme, as well as prompt promotion. For the civil servant, they haven't had it this good, as this was actually made possible through the automation of payment of salaries, where the governor established a day.
Thank you for joining us again on the News Hour on Biscon Television. I'm Stella Opara. First, the headlines. On the national scene, President Tinubu signs 2.17 trillion naira 2023 supplementary budget into law. Federal government will support NPC to conduct next census, says President Tinubu. In business news, NNPCL unveils new crude grade, ships 1.9 million barrels in October. On the foreign scene, man crushed to death by robot in South Korea. And in the world of sport, Usyk hopes Fury World title fight will be confirmed for February in Saudi Arabia. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday signed the 2023 supplementary budget, 2.17 trillion naira, into law at the presidential villa in Abuja. Last Thursday, the Senate and the House of Representatives passed the 2.17 trillion naira 2023 supplementary appropriation bill after a third reading. Before the passage of the bill, the Senate adopted the report of the harmonized sittings of both red and green chambers on the 2023 supplementary appropriation bill, as submitted by the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Senator Solomon Olamilekan Adeola, APC Ogun West. The bill expeditiously scaled readings in both upper and lower chambers, as lawmakers said it was for the benefit of the country. Tinubu had written the National Assembly seeking the approval of the sum of 2.17 trillion naira as the 2023 supplementary budget to address labor wage adjustments, security, and more. The President had also sent the 2024 to 2026 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper to both chambers of the National Assembly. Recently, the Senate passed 819 billion naira, making provision for a 500 billion naira palliative package. Now, President Bola Tinubu says the federal government will support the National Population Commission, NPC, in the conduct of the next census. The President spoke at the launch of the Digital Civil Registration and Vital Statistics System and the National Geospatial Data Repository at the State House in Abuja. According to the National Population Commission, the platform will digitalize all civil registrations such as birth registration, stillbirth registration, birth attestation, adoption, marriage notification, divorce notification, migration, and death. The President further said accurate information on the size, characteristics, and distribution of the nation's population is imperative both for planning and for the effective delivery of public services to Nigerians. He said Nigeria's population remains the greatest asset the nation wields in the broader mission to become one of the largest economies in the world. Former President Muhammadu Buhari had approved the postponement of the 2023 population and housing census, earlier scheduled between May 3rd and 7th to a date to be determined by the Tinubu administration, which took over on May 29, 2023. However, President Tinubu has not yet revealed the new date for the next census. In another development, the Corps Marshal Federal Road Safety Corps, Dauda Bureau, has directed the deployment of 1,500 personnel of the Corps and 35 vehicles to Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa states to help strengthen enforcement of restrictions during the entire process of the election on Saturday. The off-cycle polls are scheduled to be held on November 11, 2023 in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo states. BU want the personnel deployed to play an active role in the democratic exercise, to exhibit the highest sense of professionalism and ingenuity, and avoid any temptation that could lead to abuse of the rights of electorates. While reading out the marching order to the personnel, the Corps Marshal called on the electorates in the states to comply with all regulations, including restrictions, as will be announced. Now, ahead of the November 11th governorship election in Bayelsa State, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has paid a visit to the Governor of Bayelsa State, His Excellency Senator Doye Diri. Diri, who is seeking a re-election bid under the platform of the People's Democratic Party, gladly welcomed Egbetokun to the state. The Inspector General of Police has assured the Governor of the state that the police will ensure full security of lives and property before, during, and after the election. Egbetokun praised Governor Diri for the peaceful atmosphere in Bayelsa State and warned that all those who want to disrupt the election will face the full consequence of the law.
Your Excellency, I'm sorry if I break protocol. I just don't want this opportunity to pass by. I want to make a request from Your Excellency. Please send a message out to your supporters to shun violence in this election. Help me send a message to them that they should embrace peace and shun any act of violence in this election. And I'm sure if they hear from you, you are a leading candidate in this election, if they hear from you, I'm sure they will follow.
Governor Diri, however, thanked Egbetokun for the visit, asking him to monitor the Bayelsa State election very closely.
There is an award for peace. I want to believe that I merit that award. And none of my supporters, none of them, we have always preached as we preach in the church and in the mosque to them about the need to be peaceful, the need to keep the peace in this state, and what we have already achieved to sustain it. And because we are not in a political forum, I won't also say certain things. If I say, they will say I'm campaigning here. Your visit is not for that. I can assure you again and again that the supporters of Governor Doye Diri are the most peaceful supporters in Bayelsa State.
Newsman has reported that ahead of the November 11 governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered the distribution of 220 operational vehicles for election security management. The force also deployed anti-riot equipment, including water cannons, armored personnel carriers, helmets, bulletproof vests, and tear gas canisters. You're watching Biscon TV News. Coming up next is Business News. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now to business news. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has said it had launched a new crude oil grade, Nembe, and had shipped its first cargo in October, consisting of two 950,000 barrels. Newsman report, quoting the Executive Director of Crude and Condensate at NNPC Trading, Mariamo Idris, on the sidelines of the August European Crude Conference in London, said The first cargoes of the new grade were sold to France and the Netherlands. Nembe is similar to other distillate-rich grades such as Focados, Bonga, and Egina. The low-sulfur grade commands a premium to the global Brent benchmark and is a good grade to compete with Brazilian and Azeri crude grades for European refiners, she added. Production of Nembe is currently around 50,000 barrels per day, but the NNPCL said it is aiming for a rise to 80,000 barrels per day by the first quarter of next year and 150,000 barrels per day by the start of 2025, the source added. The development comes on the heels of recovering crude oil production, which went from a low of 900,000 barrels per day last September to 1.3 million barrels per day last month. You're still watching Biscon TV News. Coming up next is foreign news. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now to foreign news. A man has been crushed to death by a robot in South Korea after it failed to differentiate him from the boxes of food it was handling, reports say. The incident occurred when the man, a robotics company employee in his 40s, was inspecting the robot. The robotic arm, confusing the man for a box of vegetables, grabbed him and pushed his body against the conveyor belt, crushing his face and chest, newsmen said. He was sent to hospital but later died. According to newsmen, the robot was responsible for lifting boxes of peppers and transferring them onto pallets. The man had been checking the robot's sensor operations ahead of its test run in South Gyeongsang province. The test had originally been planned for November 6, but it was pushed back by 2 days due to problems with the robot's sensor. The man, a worker from the company that manufactured the robotic arm, was running checks on the machine late into the night on Wednesday when it malfunctioned. In a statement after the incident, an official from the Dongguseong Export Agricultural Complex, which owns the plant, called for a precise and safe system to be established. We'll take another short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you sports news. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Biscon TV News. Now to the world of sport. Alexander Usyk is hopeful his undisputed heavyweight world title fight with Tyson Fury can take place in Saudi Arabia in February after the British star's bruising bout against Francis Ngannou. Contracts were signed back in September, but the proposed December 23 date in Riyadh looks sure to be delayed, since Fury's near defeat to former UFC champion Ngannou is a non-title bout on October 28. Ukrainian Usyk holds the WBA, WBO, IBF, and IBO belts, and both he and Fury are unbeaten. Speaking with newsmen from his training camp in Valencia, Spain, Usyk said the date should be decided next week. The long-awaited honor fight would crown the first undisputed champion since Lennox Lewis in the 1999 and the first of the four-belt era, and Usyk has made clear that he would take advantage of this delay. We take another short break, and when we come back, we'll bring you some entertainment news. Join us again.
Hello and welcome to Showbiz News. Nollywood Yoruba actor Odunlade Adekola is filled with joy as he wins his first international award for his first cinema movie, Orisha. The actor celebrated reaching a significant milestone by posting the good news on his Instagram page. Odunlade expressed his gratitude in particular to the film's crew and cast for their outstanding performances as well as to Film One's production house. Film One Production congratulated Odunlade Adekola on his well-deserved victory on Instagram, praising him for his amazing film that won over audiences throughout Africa. In another story, Nollywood talented actress Tony Abraham shared stunning photos as she announces the release date of a new movie, Malaika. Tony Abraham posted a gorgeous picture of herself wearing a stunning green gown along with a note about the debut of her most recent project. The mother of two said on Instagram that a new film, Malaika, will be released in theaters on 22nd December nationwide. The actress dropped a motivation about having direction on a caption. She noted that direction has more importance than speed. Also, Pere Egby, Big Brother reality star, has revealed that he and his love interest, Mercy Eke, have decided to keep their relationship private. In the final week of the show, when they were down to 6 housemates, the lovebirds developed affections for each other and grew fond of each other. Pere appeared as a guest on a TV show and gave an update on how the ship is sailing, claiming they are cool but have opted to keep their relationship low-key. And that's all we have for you today on Showbiz News.
Welcome back to Biscon TV News. To end the news, here's a recap of the major points. On the national scene, President Tinubu signed 2.17 trillion naira 2023 supplementary budget into law. Federal government will support NPC to conduct next census, says President Tinubu. In business news, NNPCL unveils new crude grade, ships 1.9 million barrels in October. On the foreign scene, man crushed to death by robots in South Korea. And in the world of sports, Usyk hopes Fury World title fight will be confirmed for February in Saudi Arabia. And that's it on the news hour on Biscon Television. Compiled and produced by Tomiloba Avalan. I'm Stella Opara. Thank you for watching.
Hello and welcome to your newspaper review today. I am Olakujo Ajidaba. Today on newspaper review, I'm going to begin with the Punch newspaper today, Wednesday, November 9, 2023, and for my first headline for the Punch, NNPCL unveils new crude grade ships 1.9 million barrels. That's on page 24. Over $700 million remains trapped in Nigeria. You can read that on page 29. Foreign airlines. Nigerians lament as Canada suspends Abuja embassy operations, and you can read that on page 7. Off-season elections, crisis rocks peace meeting, NLC strike threatens Imo poll. Traditional rulers flee as parties bicker, Labour plans airport power shutdown. IG deploys new CPs, 3 killed in Kogi as INEC rejects call to remove Imo wreck. To read about the off-season elections, you can read that on page 2. Battle for Bayelsa, Jonathan Dewey Silver canvass votes, and that's on page 7. 5 jailed for sharing Osun ex-speaker's nude video. That's on page 8. Certificate racketeering. Lagos Assembly probes lawsuit. You can read that on page 6. And for the last and final story for the Punch newspaper, Israel Hamas, Senate demands ceasefire, US rejects Gaza occupation. That's the last story here, and that's on page 18. I'm moving on to the next newspaper for today's newspaper review, which is Tuesday newspaper, Wednesday, 8th November 2023. And for the first headline for this day, NPA launches audacious $1.1 billion plan to rehabilitate 100-year-old Thinken Island port. Others, and that's on page 9. It discloses 25-year port master plan, and that's in a bid to actually enhance trade competitiveness and west cargo from neighboring countries. And you can read that story on page 9. NNPC Altero Venture launches new crude oil grade to compete in Europe. That's also on page 9. Cervical cancer. Nigeria governor's wives committed to tackling barriers, upscaling HPV vaccination in the country. And that's on page 41 to read about the cervical cancer. The Nigeria governor's wives committed to tackling barriers. That's on page 41. Labour commences indefinite strike in Imo State to shut down Owerri Airport, threatens to begin nationwide industrial action November 14. Adegbowura urges TUC NLC to declare total strike. Says Tinubu administration has no regard for Labour. That's on page 9. You can read that story on page 9. Yakubu. Result of polling unit with record of violence will not be counted. Imo, LP, PDP Guber candidate stage walkout during our next stakeholders meeting. Demand removal of resident electoral commissioner. Don't test our resolve. RG wants troublemakers in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo State. Orders restriction of movement on election day. Deploys 3 DRGs to man elections in 3 states. And that story is on page 9. And the last story for this day, Bayelsa Paul Jury deserves another time, says Jonathan. That's the former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, and he's saying that Jury deserves another term. And that's on page 43, and the last story for this newspaper. And I'll be moving on to New Telegraph today, Wednesday, November 8, 2023. And for the first story, the first headline for New Telegraph, oil production surge boosts external reserves by $214.4 million. That's on page 3. Power generation 85,000, highest since September 2022. That's on page 8. Terrorists use transport networks to perpetrate violence. That's according to the federal government, and that's on page 4. Plateau Senatorial State. PDP loses to APC's Lalong over refusal to boycott orders. That's on page 5. Labour declares total action against Imo at midnight to embark on nationwide strike November 14. That's on page 5. Nod 6 creation of more local government, recommends reclassification based on status viability. That's on page 0. Saturday's Gruber will nullify results where there's violence. That's according to INEC, says it will return to such PU for election. IGP bars quasi security outfit from election duties, restricts vehicular movement, bans security escort from polling booths. 3 DRGs to take charge of security in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi State. To read about the Saturday's Gruber, you can read that on pages 2 and 4. Market dynamics always viable for new fuel hike. That's according to Ipman. NNPCL launches new number grade for crude. You can read the story on pages 8 and 25. Lagos Gruber Pearl. Hill Court reserves judgment in LP PDP's appeal. That's on page 5 to read about the Lagos Gruber Pearl. Court jails community leaders 5 years for leaking Osun ex-speaker's ritual video. That's on page 31. Senate probes lopsidedness in federal government recruitment deployment. Condemns Israel-Palestine war, calls for 2-state solution. Advocates punishment for firearms misused by customs personnel. And that's on pages 3, 5, and 7. Reps vow to end terrorism financing money laundering. Obi urges Nigeria to join in tackling Africa's illicit financial flows. You can read that on pages 2 and 3. For the last story for New Telegraph study, Opus finger prick test detected brain tumors. That's on page 27, and the last story for New Telegraph. And I'll be moving on to the next newspaper for today's newspaper review, Vanguard newspaper today, Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and I'll begin with the first headline. Oil and gas manufacturing get 55.5% of loans in H1 23. That's on page 19. Ajero, NLC TUC declared nationwide strike November 14 if shutdown email stops flights, cuts electricity fuel supply. That's on page 25. I went to already saw an agreement. Wike declares that's the FCT minister, Minister Wike, and that's on page 4. Naira Tinubu will shock currency speculators. Presidency says reorganization of banking sector coming for stable, stronger Naira. Targets bringing Naira value to 500 or 600. Top strategic priority is to push financial inclusion above 95%. CBN. Note financial inclusion currently stands at 64%. Pay greater attention to debt reduction instead of currency speculations. That's according to Dory, and that's on page 5 to see the story. NNPC, ITO JV introduces Nimbe crude grade to oil market in London. That's on page 4. Why Southwest governors ended political interference in Odua Group. That's according to the other, that on page 8. Without placing strong constitutional obligation on the Nigerian government to finance education at all levels, the current situation whereby government has failed to achieve the minimum 26% of national budget or 4% of GDP funding threshold specified by UNESCO may continue. That's on page 22, and that's according to February. For the sports section, the last section of the Vanguard newspaper, AJ, why I still live with my mom at 34, and that's on page 29, and you can read that on page 29, and Femi Joshua telling us why he still lives with his mom at the age of 34. And that's the last story for Vanguard newspaper. Now we're moving on to the next newspaper, the Guardian newspaper. Today, Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and I'll begin with the first headline for the Guardian. 31 governors shun amendment, financial autonomy for state assemblies. That's on page 6. Federal government begins 40% revenue deduction from Nigerian universities. That's on page 3. Israel and mass war, Senate nudges federal government on ceasefire call. That's on page 6. NLC TUC threatening nationwide strike November 14. That's on page 3. Why coercive legislation may not return children to classrooms. And that's on page 4. Lagos Assembly summons Commissioner VC orders over certificate racketeering. And that's on page 5. For the last story for The Guardian, only 3 states score excellence in ICANN's audit ranking, and that's on page 3. And that's the final story for The Guardian newspaper. And I'll be moving on to The Nation newspaper, but before I continue with The Nation newspaper, we're going to a quick short break, and when we come back, continue with the newspaper review. Stay with us. Welcome back. I begin with The Nation newspaper today, Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and for the first headline for The Nation newspaper, federal government shocker soon for dollar naira speculators. That's on page 5. Airlines orders to get forex backlog next week. Court strikes out Deputy Governor Aida Tiwa's suit. Senate goes tough on MDA's disrespect for resolutions. You can read the stories, part stories on pages 29 and 3. Emo, police, labor clash likely. That's on page 4, and the last story for The Nation newspaper. And I'll be moving on to Daily Trust newspaper today, Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and from the first headline for Daily Trust. Bill court stacks the two PDP senator declares La Long winner. That's on page 3. Gas scarcity persists in Lagos Canal orders as price remains unstable. That's on page 3. Firearms abuse, Senate indicts customs controllers in Katsina, Kaduna, Ogun. That's on page 6. 3 days to pause. Killings, attack spike in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. 3 killed as SDP chieftain attacked their talks. Police. IGP restricts movement, bars a Google order Kwasi security outfits, and that's on page 4. War on Gaza. Senate calls for ceasefire. Asks federal government to press for two-state solution. You can read that story on page 6. Bandits kill 10 in Benue, 5 in Castina, and that's on page 5. Kano Disco gets new owners, that's on page 20. Nigeria, Labour orders power shutdown, flight suspension in Imo, and the last and final story is on page 6. For the last newspaper for today's newspaper review, which is News Direct, on today, Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. And for News Direct, Nigerian News Direct, I'll begin with the first headline. Off-cycle elections, IGP bars road of water transport movement in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa. Federal government approves 5 billion naira compensation for the defunct Nigeria Airways workers. That's on page 2. Again, fish sellers protest soaring prices. That's on page 2. Attack on Nigeria. NLC TUC commence strike action in Imo today, threatening to embark on nationwide strike by November 14 if identity sack of 11,000 ghost workers, non-payment of pensioners' orders as reasons for strike. Subsidy payments rose to 400 billion naira monthly, dropped 3.7 billion naira in May 2023. That's according to NNPCL. That's on page 2. PMA, WCA, NPA launches a $1.1 billion port rehabilitation plan for enhanced trade competitiveness. And that's on page 13. The last story, over 9 million Nigerians at risk of exclusion from National Identity Registry. That's on page, that's the last story, and that's on the back page. And that's the final story for Nigerian News Direct. And we've come to the end of newspaper review today. And many thanks for watching. Thank you for joining us. To see more, you can download the Biscon TV app on your Android devices or on your iOS devices. And you can also visit our YouTube channel to get all the latest updates you need. And I'll see you next time for another episode of Newspaper Review. I am Olapeju Ajeba. Have a nice day.
You forgot. Thank you. Bayelsa State.
If you vote it,
I look at the book and find Your Excellency, the miracle governor, Senator Doyetri, the joy of our life. Her Excellency, how about you now gave us a modern pavilion and a ready community. Your healers are happy with you. Your Excellency, when your prosperity government came on board, in 11 months duration, you gave us a road that no one has ever done. Even when we solicited for it with tears, we were not given. But today, 15 minutes drive from Yenegua, you are the very community. As it were, that was not enough. Excellency, you extended the road from the back of the town, aiding our expansion and development. You have taken it to where we call Kala Sakri. You gave us the highest numbers of appointments in the history of the Iberi community. We will not be here counting what you have done for us because we want to spare energy and vote you. Aye, Iberi! Aye, Iberi! It is on this note, Your Excellency, on behalf of the Iberi community, I respectfully welcome you and your entourage for today's political business. We are showing you, if we have done 70%, we are this time resolute. We are giving you unfettered support. We are showing you 95% votes. Thank you. Thank you. Nothing less than 95%.
14th of
He's up. He's up. What is on? Come on, come in here. Hey, Aluku. Hey, Bidikbi. Aluku, Bidikbi, come on, come in here. Pada. Come on, come in here.
Thank you.
Please be seated. PDP!
Power to the people.
PDP!
Power to the people.
Power to the people!
PDP.
Power to the community!
PDP.
Power to Ward 11!
PDP.
Onwa!
Yeah.
Onwa!
Yeah.
We need to campaign for Boma. And then leave for Pokuma. In fact, Kolokmo Pokuma, we are not campaigning. We are not campaigning. We want to meet with our brothers. We want to share a bottle of drink together. So everywhere we are going to Kolokmo Pokuma, please note, we are not campaigning. Others can come and campaign. But are there others? Up until today, they stand disqualified.
Ayva I know it,